Canty, only at Midas. The voices there of one Michelle Smallman. And then our guy Mike Gill, 97.3 in Atlantic City, Philadelphia area. Shout out to Mike. There is almost no host in America that supports our show more than Mike does, and we do appreciate it. 97.3, one of the great stations we are on all across the United States. Talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, which Mike talks about every single day. Nick Sirianni is their head coach. He and the Eagles won a title this past year. They're also 4-0 to start the season. They also had the A.J. Brown tweet after the game on Sunday, and Nick Sirianni had this to say about his star wide receiver.
Is it your understanding that A.J. still wants to be here?
Yeah. Obviously A.J. is very important to this football team. I know he wants to contribute. and, do the things that he's capable of doing. I question nothing about, his desire to play great football, his desire of being a good teammate, his desire to be here.
Just to add more context, something interesting that I did not realize. Hembo, Get Up, had this information for us, that A.J. Brown is 5th in the NFL in target share, meaning his percentage of passes thrown by his team thrown to him, 30.5% of the passes thrown by the Eagles go to him.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's much ado about nothing. I don't know. So what is more likely now? What happened 2 years ago that the Eagles collapsed, or what happened a year ago that they win the Super Bowl?
Well, they're the defending Super Bowl champions who took the Kansas City Chiefs going for a three-peat to the Super Bowl, and it was BTA. Then they come out to start the season. They're undefeated. They have a division win. You've beaten the Chiefs again. You've beaten the Rams, who played you the hardest in the playoffs, and you beat the Bucks, the team in the NFC that gives you fits. And we're wondering if because A.J. Brown put something on social media that got us talking, that they're not going to be able to win games. That's what we're wondering. We've seen different permutations of the drama with the Eagles. We've talked about Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. We've talked about Jalen Carter. Spitgate, remember that? To start the season?
That's wild.
Remember that? Are they going to make a stand against Jalen Carter? Are they going to teach him a lesson? Is this going to impact the different versions of how we viewed the team? Is there something more here? A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts last season. A.J. Brown reading a book on the sidelines. I mean, how many times Big Dom? Remember that? He's fine. Oh, my God, Big Dom. It just feels like we are constantly talking about different little versions of drama with the Philadelphia Eagles that ultimately do not matter because they keep winning games. And they won the Super Bowl, and they've been to 2 in the past 3 years. So, no, I am not worried about the social media posts. I do not think that it's going to result in some big kind of slide from the Eagles. I still think they're the class in the NFC.
A couple of things. First of all, just because you have a high percentage of the team's targets in the passing game doesn't mean that they're using you the right way in terms of the routes that you're running.
Okay.
So we got to be clear on that. And there is a learning curve when you have a new offensive play caller in Kevin Patullo, from Kellen Moore, from Brian Johnson the year prior to that. So to have a situation where the player is dependent on the quarterback in order to do his job, and to have the 2 worst passing halves that we've seen through the first quarter of the NFL season is an issue. The first half against the Rams, they had negative passing yards. The second half against the Bucks, Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass. So those are things that raise an eyebrow. In Smalls, they're undefeated. You're right. Right now, it doesn't matter until it does. And that's the thing that we wonder about. Is this team going to be able to sustain their level of play? Are they going to be able to find a way to continue to win games? Are they going to have block kicks for touchdowns in every single game? Or is this offense going to get back on track? Are we going to see the version of the running game that we got last year with Saquon Barkley? Are we going to get the prolific passing game when they decide to pull that out because teams are loading the box to stop the run? I have questions about the Philadelphia Eagles. Not saying that this team is not capable of competing, because I clearly believe that they are the class of the NFC. But what I am saying is I do not believe that this is sustainable in terms of the team being outgained in yardage in every single game this season.
It reminds me, I said it a couple weeks ago, it reminds me of last year's Chiefs, where it's like something's off, but they keep winning every game, right? And I never believed something was off until they got destroyed by the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So let me ask this then. Could simultaneously, in your mind, something be off and they still end up playing in February?
Yes.
And that's why people like Smalls and I are not that worried about it. Because ultimately, you get to the end result of being back in the Super Bowl for the third time with this group. Because I have a tough time, as we sit here today, envisioning someone beating them. Now, that could change, of course. The Rams are great. The Bucs are great.
Yeah, I was about to say, you have a hard time seeing somebody beat them. Those were close ball games.
Yeah, Eagles won both of them.
They won both of them. They were down 3 possessions against the Rams in the second half. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were in a 1-possession game, had 2 possessions in the fourth quarter in plus territory and got no points, in large part because Baker Mayfield threw an interception at the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just.
But we can work the opposite way now.
All 4 of their wins have been in one-score games.
Sure, and I get it. I'm just saying that I don't believe it's sustainable to have every opposing offense outgain your offense in every single game and the Eagles get back to where they were last year. I don't think that at some point, and I don't know who that team is, at some point somebody's going to clip you. And I guess that's the issue that A.J. Brown was alluding to or intimating about when he went to social media. Now, do I like his method? Hell no. I don't like it. Because you say you don't want to draw attention to something, and then you draw attention to it by putting it out on social media. So you do the thing that you said you weren't trying to do. But I do think there are concerns. There are real issues in terms of what that Eagles offense looks like.
Coming up, we have our weekly list of hot mess teams. Here's a pie as agreed upon by the Players Association and the league. So when you were in the NFL, the salary cap is determined by the money coming into the entire sport and that percentage of that money as agreed upon by the players and the owners of the teams. So the complaint that she has about money, while we all would look at the salaries and say, how is it possible that that is what this young woman makes? It's not about whether or not they deserve more. Smalls, you said the growth of the league. Can you please define growth in this case? Because I don't think growth is by money. And I think that what unfortunately probably needs to happen is Kathy Engelbert, and maybe she has done this and I missed it, needs to come out and almost show the books. Like, you guys think we're making...
Oh, no, that'll never happen.
Right, but you get what I'm saying.
Owners would never do that.
You get what I'm saying. The money coming in is obviously not what we think, because if that's the case, they reopen negotiations for the CBA, they increase the salary cap, and the percentage could stay the same, but it's the total dollars that grows, and thus your percentage as a player grows. This is not an arbitrary, I'm just going to give Chris Canty this number, I'm going to give Michelle Smallman this. They've negotiated the percentage based on someone seeing the books.
Well, yeah, you don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate. That's what I learned as being a part of the union for all of those years and being in union leadership and the board. That's the reality of the situation.
So what are you negotiating? You're negotiating your percentage of the total money coming into the sport, correct?
Yeah, but even total revenue is not total revenue. That's the other thing that you learn.
What is included within the total revenue? Is it TV?
Exactly.
Is it radio?
So that's all of that stuff is negotiated as well. So it's the benefits are negotiating. Credits for stadiums that they're going to build into the future. That's a part of the negotiation. Retirement benefits are part of the negotiation. All of this is negotiable. Resources that are allocated to officiating. Those are things that are a part of conversations when it comes to a collective bargaining agreement. Mm-hmm. And that's the issue that I have with Nafisa Collier. It's not that she's not bringing up things that need to be addressed. It's the method and it's the timing. And I don't love the idea of conflating the issue of officiating with the issue of the pay disparity relative to their value to the growth of the product.
You don't like putting those together?
I don't like putting those together. I understand what she's trying to do, which is paint a picture of the owners and league leadership not valuing the players overall and turning a blind eye to a glaring issue of the officiating that has been going on for so long and potentially putting them at risk. I just think that it gets murky when you start bringing in the money just because everybody knows that we're headed toward a lockout. And it feels like more of a shot across the bow in an effort to win favor in the court of public opinion versus actually trying to start a conversation that leads to substantive change in the way of officiating.
But I think to your point, she was trying to paint a broader picture. She was talking about leadership as a whole, and the word she used was negligent. And if you're trying to make your case, you're getting all the data points you can to say, this is what I'm trying to say, and look at all of these things that leadership has failed to do and how they failed us. And I know you didn't like the timing of Fee's comments, but we are going in to the WNBA Finals, where there's going to be tons of eyeballs on the product. Today is October 1st. The CBA expires at the end of the month. There is a sense of urgency that these players feel to get their point of view across and to have it land with the general public, too. That's why they wore the T-shirts at the All-Star break. Pay us what you owe us. They want the public and their fans to understand their point of view, because that's what you're worried about if you're players, is having this growth that you have earned because your product is very entertaining, and these new fans that have come on board have a sour taste in your mouth if and when there is a lockout. So they're trying to get their messaging across, and they're doing so at a time when there's a ton of eyeballs on their product.